Mikel Arteta has finished third place, second place through the past 4 seasons at
Why not
Arsenal
first place?
because
Yeah,
you're going
I
against some
think
really good
I
teams
think
there.
that
But
is the worst possible argument.
Mikel Arteta
Like,
has changed the culture around at Arsenal
yes,
into a very competitive
do
team.
I
I
think
think
our yeah.
he has manufactured, some would say inauthentically, but nonetheless he has manufactured a very good Arsenal team
I
that has
just
been
think
competitive for years. I
but
think he is a
I
better
just think
coach.
it's the most hollow argument because they have won nothing.
Okay,
I
but
see.
what does Unai Emery won though for
No, but
Villa?
I'm
Okay,
not
but the
saying
difference is that Arteta's coaching a trophy hunting team in Arsenal, and Emery is coaching a mid-table team in Aston Villa.
Okay,
no,
sure,
no,
but
but well, I'm not I don't think yeah, I don't think I'm
And
not
and they've
arguing.
won more than Arsenal in that span.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Emery is better. I do think Arteta's a great manager, but I just think the constant argument or the way to back Arteta by saying that they have competed and placed second or third is a terrible,
well,
terrible
okay,
way to
okay,
back a coach.
that's fair.
Because
That's fair.
look, and again, I think if you look at like, do I think Arne Slot's a better manager than Arteta? Now, no. But last season, 100%. I think Slot was my like I think the ability to come into a league and win a trophy is immediately puts you a pedestal ahead. And I think there's a legitimate argument for saying Slot's a better manager than Arteta. I think there is because he came in and did it. And look, did he inherit a good team? And yeah, but I do think that there is a genuine argument about Arteta if there isn't some type of success this season. Like, it's some coach will be able to come in and like this Arsenal team is fantastic. So if not this year, when?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're gonna talk big about what Arteta has done, it has to be more on the team building side of it
Yeah,
because he's built a phenomenal squad and the way they play is brilliant, but they have fallen apart down the stretch multiple times over the last 5 years. So yes, Mikel Arteta is a top five manager in the world right now, but no, it's not because Arsenal are competitive. It's because he's built a team
okay, yeah,
that
no,
is the best in the world.
no, that's fair. That's very fair. And I also think that the play style is
The play style is great.
it's so mechanical to the level that you know how influential the coach is. That's really more
But
where I
also,
was going.
I think if you put a number of those top five you just said ahead of him, Dylan, I think they would have two Premier League titles by now. I think there is a
I don't
if
know.
you
I
put
don't know.
Pep Guardiola, I think
I,
at Arsenal, and again, look, I know that's the if and or but
I think
type of
that's hard. I
argument.
think that's hard to argue though, just because Arteta's been so like unique as a coach. I don't think that you could have this Arsenal team without Arteta because of how different
He
he's been
built the squad.
in approach. He built the squad exactly how he wanted to. He brought
Yeah,
in
but
the guy.
Klopp, Bill, Liverpool
Yeah,
slot
but
him in for a
I
season and
mean
won.
but the team was better. The Liverpool team last season was better than what
So
I
we have
think
the
you look at the
now.
only
Liverpool
the
team
only
last season and the
flaw
Arsenal team
the
this season. I think Arsenal are much deeper. I think they're very,
But
very
that,
close.
but like we were saying, and I was arguing for Bukayo Saka as a top creator in the world, and I still think that. But Mohamed Salah last season was a different demon.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
I
no
mean,
Mohamed Salah in
So,
this Arsenal team.
well, I think that the one flaw or fault that you can find in Arteta is that he hasn't won that big trophy yet, right? So, I think if you're picking a manager, say Manchester United's in the hunt for a new manager and they can decide between Arteta and Emery, it I think it is it's a tough decision because you know that Arteta's going to come in with an idea in mind and with
but
a
yeah,
tactics and a squad in mind, but I might back Emery to win sooner than I'd back Arteta to win
I think
because
that's a good
Emery in the
argument.
last few
Yeah.
years with Villa has won a European trophy while Arteta has won an FA Cup.
Which was like 5 years ago or something, or like 4 years ago. And
So I
Aubameyang was
think
still
that at
on
the end of the day,
Arsenal.
not that Arsenal don't have a winning mentality under Arteta, they just haven't won yet.
And
No, that's fair.
I think
That's
there's
reasonable.
a very real world where once they win a Prem or Champions League, the floodgates open, and then it's like they just start racking up trophies. But I think you look at the time it's taken
It's year seven
Arteta
of Arteta.
to roll out
That's
this
our
team
eight of Arteta.
and to only have one trophy, I think is a serious concern. This is my take, and after watching several Arsenal games, I don't think they have the legs, and I don't think that they will win the Premier League. And I think, Dylan, it's something you brought up is the output that they have. And we talked about Gyökeres last time. Here's what I'll say, and this is kind of how I'll preface it. I don't think Gyökeres will be at Arsenal in 2 years. I don't think Gabriel Jesus is really a striker. I think Jesus would be fit much more in maybe a two striker system or someone who sits behind. I don't think Havertz is a clinical 20 goals a season striker. And then I guess Mikel Marino, honestly, might be their best striker right now. So I don't know. My Arsenal conversation is I just think that we saw throughout the season, I guess, kind of barring, or the beginning of the season, barring that Liverpool game when Liverpool won, a team that looked bulletproof, that looked different from the Arsenal team that made mistakes, that lost games. I think, especially with the injuries that they're starting to pick up, I think that they will start to slip. And I don't think Arsenal have the output to win this league.
Where I'm going to disagree with you, and this isn't a whether or not they end up winning the league or not. I honestly think it's a toss-up right now. They do have the lion's share of the votes for me, and I think that if I had to pick right now, I would pick Arsenal. But I actually think that they have had a goal-scoring output that you can't really ignore. They do not have an Erling Haaland up front. They don't have an Igor Thiago or even a Voltemada or you know
Ekitike.
Ekitike, sure, even an Ekitike, they do not have. Um, but they are still tied for the second highest scoring team in the Prem. They're the fourth highest scoring team in the Champions League, and they've got 8 different players with 2 or more goals this season in the Prem, which is the most in the Prem. So they are still finding ways to score a ton of goals. When you've got guys like Trossard, Havertz, Gyökeres, Marino, Saka, Martinelli, Eze, Odegaard, who can all go score goals, plus defenders who are known for their goal scoring ability in Calafiori, Timber this season, Gabriel. Um, they're going to get the goals. The game against Wolves, we can chalk it up to a fluke. We know how bad Wolves is. We'll get into that in a little bit. Yes, Wolves scored all 3 goals in the game. Yes, Arsenal won. Um, I don't think this is a big problem. Interestingly, about Mikel Merino, I saw this stat recently and I just looked it up to make sure it's true. Mikel Merino has scored the highest percentage of goals of any player, of any non-defender in the Premier League with his head. Mikel Merino, of his 11 Premier League goals, 8 have been with his head, which is the highest percentage of any player in
Yeah,
Premier League
that's
history that's not a
crazy.
defender. Uh, he's their best striker up 100%. Gyökeres is not good. He had all the tools and now comes to the Premier League and looks like a 14-year-old against Premier League center backs. He's
I
not
don't
good
want
enough.
to have
No,
that. I don't
absolutely.
know.
He is not good enough on the ball. He is not good enough aerially. He is not good enough like without the ball. He's not
Yeah,
good enough at
that's
anything
He has
to
not
play in the Premier
succeeded
League.
yet. He has not succeeded yet, and
And that's
he
because
has
he
played
is
poorly.
lacking in so many
He is
areas
technically
that
a lackluster player to a level that I did not expect him to be. However, I think his speed and I think his hold-up play will translate in due time if they give him the time to play. Now, that's not to say that they
but
should,
Marino is a
because they
better
need.
hold-up
Yes,
player
no,
and
he's not a
and
better
he's
hold-up player.
better aerially.
He's
He is
he's a better he's
100%
not a
better with
better
the
hold.
ball.
He's not a better hold. Better with the ball, yes, but he's not a better hold-up player. Gyökeres is too big to be
Okay, but in
really.
fairness, Arsenal don't exactly use their striker as a
Yes,
hold-up player.
yes,
So
yes.
that can be part of it. But Gyökeres, where people thought he would succeed, is his physical presence. He's big and he's quick, and yet he is smaller than all the Prem center backs, and he is slower than all of them. So he's not succeeding, and he will not succeed at Arsenal.
I don't know if I fully agree with that because I still think if today you ask me who the starting striker that's going to take Arsenal to win the Premier League title is, I would say it's Victor Gyökeres.
And
I
I'd be
think,
more likely to tell you that Trossard or Marino would do a better job.
and that's not a ridiculous thing to say given it hasn't happened yet. I just think Gyökeres' intangibles, his speed, his strength, that have not shown themselves because Arsenal are so rigid in the way they play, will show themselves in due time. People are going to start to figure out that how Arsenal play is not sustainable. And I agree. It is not sustainable to win games relying on set pieces and relying on the creativity of 1 or 2 players. It's just not possible to win a league like that.
But I
But
think that's somewhere that he should shine. So yeah, his physicality hasn't come out yet, but that's something that should never go away. You look at other players who have come to the
you're
Premier League, and
you're
not to say that this is a
you're
guy who,
misunderstanding what I'm trying to say though. You're saying that I have the problem with Gyökeres is that he hasn't been physical to this point because the team is rigid, which is what I'm saying is Gyökeres has not succeeded yet because he's not put in a spot to succeed as the striker of a team that does not rely on their striker for anything other than headed goals and hold the
But
play.
but City did not rely on their striker, and then they got Holland, and now he's the best player in the world.
Holland
So,
is the best player, second
but
best player in the
that's
world, but
but that's not to say that Gyökeres is as good as Holland. He's not even close. But Arsenal fans and many people around the world were thinking that he would have a similar trajectory of impact to
Yeah.
what Holland was able to do. And what I thought I heard you say, I could be wrong, is that where he shines, he hasn't shined yet.
yes.
But I
And
think
whether that's because of the system or because he hasn't been playing well, I think that the attributes in which he shines in, he should have been able to shine in at this
Okay.
level.
No,
And he
that's
has not.
And
that's fair.
I think the biggest, and again, I don't mean to keep going back to Liverpool, but I think you look at the lineup they ran with last season, most common was they didn't have a striker as Luis Diaz. So Liverpool, a team that does not really rely on their strikers. And I think you look at what Ekitike has done this season, obviously a different profile than Gyökeres, but he has imposed his style of gameplay that he did at Frankfurt, especially in these past recent weeks at Liverpool. And he scored and he just hit double-digit goals. And he's immediately made an impact. And I think that's what it is in the Premier League. And am I saying that players, they either come to the Premier League and immediately make an impact or they're not good? No. But I think exactly what Charlie said. You look at Gyökeres' goals, you look at what they brought him in for. Arsenal have never had an imposing classic number 9 finisher, knows where to be, just bruiser, strong. You look at the games that he's played, I haven't seen his pace be utilized for a positive once. His strength and I think his hold up play has been all right. And again, obviously Arsenal are much more of a fluid and attacking team through their width. But there is a problem with how much more I think effective they are when Marino is there or when Trossard is there or even Gabriel Jesus, who immediately came in and made an impact off injury. So I think there is a definite concern for Arsenal. And Dylan, I could not agree more with the sustainability. I think that they're not a good team when they're behind, and I think that it's an issue for them because I think they create. Obviously, they're scoring, but I think they create much less than people might think, and I think it's an issue, and I think it's a problem they will have. Whereas I think City have unlimited options, and that's a team I think will win the league. I think just City have so much more creativity, especially you look at the season they had last year, but now with Foden hitting, Cherky looks fantastic. Holland obviously kind of back to his heights. I think when it comes down to brass tacks, they just will create more and they will score more, and I think they will catch Arsenal.
But I
Yeah.
think that then you don't factor in the sustainable part of Arsenal's game, and that's how incredibly strong their defense is.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
is the best defense we've seen in the Premier League probably since that 2005 Chelsea backline that conceded the least goals in a Premier League season ever. This team has conceded less than half of the next best team's expected goals against this season. They've conceded less than 10 expected goals against. So, of course, it's sustainable, and they could go out and win every game for the rest of the season 1-0, and I wouldn't be surprised because that's how strong their defense is. So, yes, they don't have a top goal scorer right now, and no, they don't create as much as City do, or even United this season, or Chelsea, or even Liverpool potentially. But their defense is double as good. It's 2 times better than anybody else's right now. And that starts with Raya in goal. Gabriel and Saliba is the best center back duo in the league. And Timber and Calafiori and Ben White, who came back from injury and looked great. These are all guys who can contribute to that defense meaningfully. And then to bring it back to a point you raised earlier, Keen, about Bukayo Saka, um, I think that's a player that cannot be measured and judged by his output,
No, I agree.
by
I
his
agree with
goals and
that.
assists, because I think that, you know, when you look at Salah, who is someone who, hats off to him, is one of the greatest Premier League players of, in history because of the amount of goals and assists he managed to accrue over his time on the wing for Liverpool. Um, Saka's not that player, and when I watch him play, he has more of an Eden Hazard type impact on a game. And that's an impact that sometimes goes noticed when he shows up on the score sheet, but sometimes it goes unnoticed. He creates 4, 5, 6 chances per game, but they just don't turn him in. So I think Saka, yes, is one of the best creators in the Premier League, maybe the best creator in the Premier League. And that's, they have multiple guys that can create up front, and I think they will score enough goals to um, compensate for the fact that they don't have Holland up front.
I agree with that, but I just think that it presents an unfair double standard because Saka should look, yes, Gyökeres was brought in. I think more of the pressure has been taken off Saka, put towards Gyökeres. But I think it's an unfair double standard that Arsenal fans tend to talk about when you look at, oh yeah, Saka, great off the ball, blah blah blah. But then you look Florian Wirtz, worst signing of the season, whereas I
Okay,
think he creates and does just as much as Saka does, if not more.
all right, hold on though, because of course Arsenal fans will set a double standard for their own players.
But
Liverpool
yeah,
fans
but
will do it too. United fans will do, everybody will tell you that their player is better than the other team's player. But no, Florian Wirtz has not created as much as Saka this season, not even close. And Saka's been injured. And I think from a pure numbers standpoint, Saka has still been better than Wirtz.
Wirtz has
So
created the most chances in the Premier League.
Yeah, but
That's a
when you look at
statistic
the
fact.
when
these
you
are
when you look at the statistic of chance creation, it is on FootMob. I don't know if that's where you're looking, but it's where it is for most places. It is a pass leading to a shot. That could be a great pass that's an incisive pass as a through ball that leads to a shot from inside the box, or a pass from half field that leads to a half field shot. It could be
also
literally anything. So
also
Because
on
the
FOTMob,
commonality
to
of
be clear,
half
on
field
FOTMob,
shots
Florian
are
Wirtz is not even in
yeah,
the
but
top 10.
you know what I'm trying to say though. As when a chance creation is not necessarily a trustworthy stat to
But
prove
then, but,
how
but then, why
active.
is it trustworthy to say Saka does it? I think there has to
Because I'm
be
watching
some
the
type.
games. Because
It's the
I'm
eye
seeing
test.
When Bukayo Saka has the ball, the team is built around him, and they are able to create so many more chances when he has the ball at his feet
But I think
than
you can argue that with so many more players.
But I think Saka at a higher degree, just because of the variety of passes he has. People labeled him as a pace and power player at the start of his career because of how fast he was as a left back in the earliest stages. But what we've seen from him is he's really garnered the ability to cross the ball at an elite level, to play really good through balls, to just lead players into very good positions. I think as a creator, Bukayo Saka is he probably is the best creator in the Premier League. But back to
Yeah, I agree. I just want to say this to end it out, I'm not hating on Saka. I think he's a fantastic player and the best player on Arsenal. But I think when there's a comparison between what you saw and you talk about creating and chances and whatever, yes, he can have the impact, he can have the whatever. But you look at Salah last season, the assists he had, the number, and the amount of chances he created. I don't think Saka ever in his career has been on the same planet as Salah
That's
in
correct.
terms of that.
I agree.
That's correct.
Okay,
But
I'm
nobody,
glad that we're
but I
on the
don't think
same page with that.
anybody on the planet, with the exception of your
Arsenal
Messi,
fans.
Mbappe, Ronaldo,
No,
Haaland have ever
I'm
been on the
glad we
level of what Salah did last season.
I'm glad we agree, but I think there is definitely an argument that's talked about where it's like, yeah, well, Saka's just as good, or Saka, I
Well,
think when people choose Saka over Salah, I think it's insane. Obviously, this season is different, but I think if we're looking at, and again, Saka's a lot longer to go in his Premier League career, but I think right now they're not even close. Like it's not even an argument that can even be thought about. I think Salah is out of this world, better than Saka, has done more. And I think when people try to compare them in that aspect, especially in that whatever creation, blah, blah, aspect.
Well, if you're asking me to pick right now who I would want to start on Saturday, I'm taking Saka. But if you're
No,
asking me
yes,
at
yes.
their best who I'd want to take, Saka's not even in the
Yes,
conversation. And
okay.
I agree
Yeah,
with
yeah,
you.
no.
okay.
When you look at
That's,
the levels of Salah and Henry and
yes,
Hazard,
yeah,
those guys
yeah.
are levels. Saka is what, 24 years
Saka's
old?
good.
So
Saka
you
wants to
can't
get there. He's not there.
Yeah, okay,
you
I agree.
cannot
I'm glad
expect him to be in that conversation today.
yes, okay. I'm
In
glad we agree. I thought
five
there would
years,
be,
you may start to elevate him, but no, Saka has never been at the level of
Yeah.
yeah,
Salah.
yes.
Uh, Tying back to whether or not I believe Arsenal will win the league. That's the overarching question. Charlie, you raised great points about the defense. This is no matter what you want to say about the effectiveness of Gyökeres or Odegaard or the attacking players that have not succeeded to the point that they should this season. The defense is going to be what holds them strong. And even if you have injuries to every player across the back line, you still have a top five defense in the league. The depth is so unbelievable. Declan Rice has not been brought up once yet in this entire Arsenal discussion. He's the second
He's
best
mid.
player on this team.
I don't know. I think he's the best.
I think he's physically the best player in the Premier League other than Holland. Just on a pure shape standpoint, how much he's able to run, how many tackles and duels he's able to win. He is immense, the most important player to this midfield. Zubamendi's been fantastic. Eze and Odegaard are good creators. I think the best
Odegaard is one of the most overrated players in the Premier
Okay,
League.
I don't have a
Yes,
problem with that.
100%.
I don't have a problem with that.
100%.
Eze was a better player when Arsenal signed him
Yes, I
than
agree.
Odegaard has
I,
ever been.
I agree. But back to the topic. The reason that I think Arsenal are going to win a league is that defense and that midfield and Saka. That is the most important part to this team. But I do think that the best version of this Arsenal team would come with an effective Victor Gyökeres. Will that happen? I don't know. But if Gyökeres is what we've seen him be able to do at Sporting Lisbon, I think is a non-translatable factor. I think he can do very good things at Arsenal. That is going to be what this Arsenal team needs to get over the line. I think they're going to win the league, even if they go out and start Kai Havertz for the rest of the season, because I think the defense is just that good. And as good as City are, they don't have the same depth as Arsenal. But I think the best version of the Arsenal team has a functioning Victor Gyökeres.